Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is 10:01, so we're a little late. But welcome to the PAC quarterly meeting. All PAC members are here today. Dan Rosenblatt is here. He's on our Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee as well. Erin Turnahan is here, and she, as you know, is a business owner in town. Diane Fogash on Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety and Planning and Zoning, and Pastor Rich, who is the pastor of our Disciples Church across the street. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We also have Raylene Menominee, who is our town clerk, and our IT director, Will Wharton, and two important members of town council who showed up. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item is approval of the minutes of the meeting held on June 3rd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Are there any changes? Okay. I did give Raylene a couple because I failed to notice before when we put out the draft that there were a couple of items that have been crossed out, so they're deleted and it's all ready to go. So thank you, Raylene. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. One thing that I would draw to your attention on the PAC minutes, the PAC minutes, last meeting we discussed amending our scope of work and also the adding the ability for people to comment, provide comments to PAC, anything that would be passed along to the police department. Some people don't feel comfortable directly contacting police department. This is an option for them. We originally said it would be sent to admin@townofbethanybeach.com, but Cliff suggested, and I think it was a good idea, so that they could be readily identified, they'll be sent to pac@townofbethanybeach.com. And Will has set up a separate email for that purpose, and those, like the others, would be forwarded also to Chief Foley. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a report from Chief Foley. Chief?
Ready. All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I promise not to talk like an hour like I did in June.
But it was very interesting.
Some updates since our last meeting in June. One of the big things we had, a No Kings Rally protest on Saturday, June 14th. This was new for me as a chief of police, and it was quite immediate. We were informed of it, had to plan and logistically respond to the event here in town. It's right across the street at the Bethany Beach Town Park. We were advised initially that there would be 100 to 125 was the recent update of planned protesters for the No Kings Rally. This was a trending nationwide event throughout the United States on this date. We were made aware through DIAC, the Delaware Information Analysis Center, that it could grow larger. There was 3 planned in the state of Delaware that day, as well as 1 in Salisbury, Maryland. Excuse me, Bethany Beach had the largest planned for the 100 to 125 people at the time. We ended up having 1,200 to 1,400 protesters right here throughout the hours. There's a 3-hour event on a busy Saturday morning. Thankfully, we had a heavy Bethany Beach Police Department presence. I'm happy to report that we had 0 issues. We did plan for the worst case scenario and had officers remotely located in the event something happened. The fire department was made aware, county medics were made aware, surrounding agencies were made aware in case this went downhill. We had an immediate planned response, which is something that we take great pride of with really everything we do. I have a letter that's attached. I left everybody a copy with up front here. I'll read it out for those that are in attendance and listening online. I blacked out the name from the organizer of the event just because it was a political thing. Not everybody really agreed with it, so I don't want to put their name and advertise it out there. So I just redacted that from the form. It was written to me Monday, June 16th, 2 days after the event. She said, "Dear Chief Foley, I'm writing to thank the police officers that provided oversight at the No Kings rally in Central Park on June 14th, 2025. Their level of professionalism provided a serene and safe feeling for the hundreds of attendees. As an organizer of this event, the attendance far exceeded our expectations." Like I said, they gave us a heads up that they had 125 people planned and registered through their website, and we ended up having 1,200 to 1,400 in attendance. So it was beyond their scope of attendance as well. Deputy Chief Norman was an excellent on-site resource and continually communicated with our team to ensure peaceful and civil gathering from start to finish. When I arrived at Central Park, a sweep of the area was being conducted, which eliminated any potential for concealed issues. Strategic placement of barricades facilitated public safety, as well as managed the crowd's positioning from accidentally disrupting vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Additionally, organizer team members kept walking the perimeter to remind attendees of these safety protocols, and people respectfully complied. In my former career, which I do not know what that is, I've had vast experience working with all levels of law enforcement. I believe Bethany Beach Police Department exemplifies a well-trained team of dedicated professionals. I am most appreciative of these individuals that helped us achieve the goal for a peaceful gathering in our community without incident. Please convey my gratitude for a job well done. A lot of good words in there that I like. Professionalism is number one. Well-trained team of dedicated professionals is another statement in there I like. This just was kind of politically, incorrectly speaking, just kind of dropped on our lap. It's very new to us as new administrators. I just wanted to go over this because it shows the team effort of the Bethany Beach Police Department from top to bottom in our sound policies that successfully had everybody, safety protocol was number one, and it went over really well. Next, I'll go over some of the citizen complaints. We've had 3 citizen complaints throughout summertime, and that is something I'm very proud of. As you can imagine, we handle over summer 1,200 to 1,300 calls for service, traffic tickets, arrests, DUIs, and we only had 3 people complain to the police department of anything and everything. On June 26th, we had a citizen complaint geared towards the Bethany Beach Police Department officer on a traffic stop summons that was issued. This actually came through the CALEA portal, so it's another avenue for people to complain about the Bethany Beach Police Department, where it doesn't go directly to the chief, it doesn't go directly to the town, it goes directly to an independent party, CALEA, who upholds our policies, and then they turn around and notify us. This is how that came to us. I received this the next morning, contacted the person. We reviewed the body camera thoroughly with the stop. No violation of policy whatsoever. The officer was nothing but courteous. This was a stop sign violation. The complainant called back and apologized for his actions and the way he talked to the officer 2 days later. Again, this complaint was filed through CALEA. Then he also sent another complaint to CALEA, redacting his previous complaint, which I think was pretty unique for CALEA too. The second complaint we had, this was in mid-July. This was a parking complaint that the Bethany Beach Police Department got called to. A woman was complaining she was being quote-unquote held hostage. There was a Cisco truck blocking her in. This was responded to by a seasonal police officer as well as a full-time officer that was on scene. She did not like the way that the Bethany Beach Police Department responded to the scene. She wanted the truck to be removed immediately. This is at the Bethany Beach Town Center, right in front of Breakers, who's not delivering anything to Breakers. This was 8:30 in the morning. It's actually, it would have taken longer for the driver to come back to the truck, load up his truck, put all the refrigerated items back in the truck. We waited maybe 5 or 6 minutes with the lady, and that problem was rectified immediately. The truck driver was asked to move, loaded stuff on, and went to his next location. Same night, on July 17th, we had a gentleman that was, he disregarded 2 stop signs on the east side of town, Oakwood Street in Wellington Parkway. He was pulled over in his driveway on the east side of town. The gentleman complained that the Bethany Beach officer was overzealous, I quote, overzealous, and he was trying to embarrass him in front of his neighbors by leaving his emergency lights on. The gentleman was called into Deputy Chief Norman office the day after. He admitted to rolling through the stop signs. He was shown the body-worn camera footage and the MVR footage of the actual 2 violations that occurred. He confirmed the violations. These complaints were, all 3 complaints were unfounded. The gentleman was educated on traffic stop procedures. He didn't really understand that officers are required to keep their lights on for the whole duration of the traffic stop, and apologized for his complaint on the officer. So 3 citizen complaints that we had through the whole summer. I'm happy to report that there was no formal counseling towards any officer, whether it be seasonal or full-time, and no internal internal investigation to date in 2025, which I'm also very happy to report too. I was casually mentioned about a shoplifting incident. This is just really small town. This is really like a third-party complaint. This incident was brought to my attention by a member of the PAC. This was just a casual encounter from a citizen, not directly involved in an incident, to a member of the PAC, who then brought it to me about trust in the Bethany Beach Police Department. I think that PAC member was alarmed by what they heard with an allegation from independent person and wanted to confront me with it. I'd never heard of the situation, and I'm very happy to report within 2 hours, I went through the rank and file about whatever it was. The issue was dealt with a supervisor. This is all being detained by a juvenile on the boardwalk regarding a shoplifting incident. Bethany Beach Police Department really had nothing to do with it because the store that was detaining the juvenile person had their own security. We just happened to be called on scene to defuse the situation. Within 2 hours, I asked officers of the event that occurred 2 months prior of what happened, and they had everything in great detail explained to me, and explained that a very new seasonal officer did not know that the security officer of said store was illegally detaining a juvenile person that was accused of shoplifting and had no proof. We were just called on scene to defuse, so we got kind of brought into a hurricane, if you will, and the officer was educated on our policy and title statutes of dealing with juveniles who are accused of a crime, and detainment and notification of parents. Very happy to report that there is transparency between PAC members and the chief of police. This is a perfect example of that, how random complaints can get generated through passing somebody at a grocery store or a dinner and then relaying it to the chief of police. And this is the reason for a police accountability committee. So we see it in action. I'm very happy to report that the issue was dealt with administratively within our rank and file with supervisor officers that oversee seasonal programs. Next up, CALEA, my favorite 5-letter words. We had our annual CSM review. This is new to us because the Bethany Beach Police Department was suspended under CALEA, so usually we have these before a busy season in the summer. They're usually held in February and March. This time it was August 4th through August 8th, so you can imagine our CALEA accreditation manager, Sergeant Elliott, what he had to deal with on top of his shift supervisory responsibilities. We successfully passed our first CSM review after our reaccreditation process this past winter. We had 7 issues that needed word changes. This is very, very minor. I've been involved in accreditation since 2016. I've had upwards of 22 issues being addressed by the CALEA service manager. These were all done within that week. We adjusted wording changes to our policies to conform what they wanted to see, and it was done so without incident. I'm very happy to report we successfully passed our year 1 accreditation. Next on the list is the PAC updated training hours. Again, through post, the PAC is required to undergo 20 hours of initial training to the Police Accountability Committee within a year of compliance. And that would be, I believe it was December 8th was our first meeting.
Yeah, this year.
So we still have some time. Rosemary Hardiman has successfully done her 20 hours. I don't think we can get rid of her, to be honest with you. She's here all the time. As well as Mr. Rosenblatt successfully completed 20 hours. Aaron Turnahan is at 12, business owner, a half a block away. I can only imagine how busy you are in the summertime. Diane Fogash is at 15, and Pastor Rich is at 13. I think we're going to talk about ride-alongs here soon. For those that still need to complete, I would strongly encourage ride-alongs. It opens up your eyes to local policing, community policing, and you're side by side in the thick of it with an officer. So for those that have hours, we could do ride-alongs. If you don't want to do that, we could certainly come up with something else to get the hours done.
Do we get certificates?
We can
Do we have a
absolutely,
graduation ceremony?
we can absolutely do that. I think Sean Moriarty would gladly come down here for that too.
I had just a comment about when you went back about the CALEA,
Yep.
the update of the policies. I went online, the link that you gave us to go through the policies, the policy has already been updated.
All of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we updated them
Yep.
the day, so the CALEA, I think he actually says the week is the 4th through the 8th.
Yep.
On the Saturday before, he has full access to our policies.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Elliott was made aware by midnight on Saturday night, the standards that need to be addressed, and Sergeant Elliott took care of those before Monday even arrived. So when the compliance service manager went back in on Monday morning, the issues were already addressed, which is fantastic. Next on the list, while reading the local newspaper here, Coastal Point, Pastor Rich, this one's for you. We noticed that the Code Purple shelter is coming back to Bethany, I think December through March. Is that right? The one thing that caught my attention there is that donations were asked, and the police department would like to donate winter hats and gloves, if that's possible, or anything else that you could suggest that we could all go into in the police department and try to help. I think it was 7 gentlemen that was staying there.
Our program is going to be 4 to 7 men, very targeted, working through Love Inc. They'll be transported 5 of the 7 days down to Rehoboth, where they would get a lunch and some training. Another day they'll be here for supervision by Love Inc. And then on Sunday, they come to church and worship with us on Sunday. But we're hoping it's 4 to 7 guys. Right now, we're trying to figure out transportation, how to get them from here to Rehoboth 5 of the 7 days. But we're really excited about it, and we have an open house coming up, next 3 open houses to show off Stonehouse.
Okay. Members of the
Sounds great.
Yeah, members of the police department, I think that the list was sleeping bags, blankets, hats, gloves. Members of the police department wanted to chip in and donate something. If you could throw something our way that we could go in as a police department and we could have an officer come when they're all here, if they want to, like a meet and greet with our business, Chuck Sharp, he is our business liaison. He can speak to them and give them a rundown of the town, and really it's in December through March, we all know there's one thing open, and that's Wawa. So he can go over like a little background layout of the town if they're up for that. This doesn't have to be just made right now, but if you want to give me any insight by that till December, we can
Last year,
certainly.
we had up to 14 guys were staying there, were in the house, but we only noticed about half of them were actually working towards finding a job and finding a place to stay during the summertime. So we want to be a little more targeted this year by working with 4 to 7 guys, trying to get them into a position. Last year, I think we successfully placed 6 men into jobs and housing
Good.
by the end of the program. So
Great.
hopefully we can achieve the same thing this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. First I've heard of the program, but then my head's somewhere else usually. Pastor Rich, can we all get the list as well as the department of the needs?
Of the needs,
so
sure.
that we can see what we can do individually to help out?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on the report, this is an Office of Highway Safety audit. Again, this is something that is very new to me. So being suspended for obvious reasons from Office of Highway Safety money. These are targeted campaigns for click it or ticket, DUI, speed, reckless driving, cell phones, and then pedestrian education. We were suspended last summer for these funds. We were considered a high-risk agency for what the police department went through with the prior administration. We were awarded all of our traffic campaign grant money back to the police department, which is extremely important because it generates more safety for town residents and visitors, separate from police officer patrol. So if there's 2 officers, 3 officers working 4 p.m. to 4 a.m., through the Office of Highway Safety, we have 1 officer on their time off being paid overtime to specifically target pedestrian safety, pedestrian education, DUIs, speeding tickets, whatever you can find during specific time problems. So for DUI, we're out there from 7 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m. trying to, deter DUIs. We were under high-risk agency. I was given 24 hours notice of an audit that 2 personnel from Office of Highway Safety were going to complete. I was notified on September 2nd, and they were here September 3rd at 10 a.m. Very happy to report this is standard. This is we were randomly selected for traffic enforcement campaign. This was specifically involving a distracted driving campaign back in April. It was 4 total jobs that 4 officers worked, totaling 16 hours. And what they do is come down here and look at our traffic numbers to make sure that we're enforcing distracted driving campaign, to make sure that the officers were paid overtime, and to make sure that all the ducks were lined in a row, that they did work said overtime, if anybody can read between the lines, right? Very happy between finance and our payroll records. We had everything lined up for them, ready to go, justifying, proofing, if you will, the overtime that was worked. And I believe after that audit, Bethany Beach Police Department was going to be removed from the high-risk classification from the Office of Highway Safety. Last but certainly not least, community engagement over the summertime. We are all over the community doing anything under the sun to be integrated as human beings, not just robotic police officers. Happy to state we provided planning, logistics, safety, and crowd control for the heavily attended June craft show. We also just completed one last week for the Chamber Arts craft show on the boardwalk. We held a J1 foreign student safety seminar in June, integrated traffic safety, bicycle, pedestrian safety to, and welcoming foreign students to the Bethany area in June. We participated in Special Olympics torch run. I believe 80% of our staff, either, well, 100% of the staff, I think 80 actually physically ran during the torch run. That includes our seasonal officers. That was done in June. We assisted a regional police department in Sussex County with a sergeant promotional board. A sergeant participated in the interview and oral board process of a selection process for that. We provided 6 visits to Sea Colony, which is out of our jurisdiction, to their summer kids camp over 3 months of summertime. This interacts like 3 to 12-year-old kids that go down there for a daycare in the Sea Colony private development. We go down there and talk about policing and who we are, show them the police car, plastic hats, plastic badges, and just get a good portray of police at a young age. We've been doing that for maybe 16 or 17 years since I've been here, too. It's a great program. We participated in the J1 student picnic held at St. Martha's Church on Maplewood Street. We were invited to that yearly. We engaged over 100, served food, played cornhole, interacted, got to show some personalization to foreign students throughout that event. We held a bike safety workshop at the South Coastal Library. This was in conjunction with the town's pedestrian and bicycle safety program. We assisted Rehoboth Beach Police Department with their July 4th fireworks. This was a very lengthy overtime detail for the officer that assigned. This is actually on Saturday, July 5th, to assist them. They go through the same thing that we do in July 4th, so you can imagine how strained they are on personnel. We went up there and assisted them for that. We held 2 bike safety checkpoints in conjunction with Office of Highway Safety as well as the Town Pedestrian and Bike Safety Committee. Over 280 bike lights out of our police budget were installed. And then we assisted another Sussex County municipality police department with a lieutenant promotional process in the month of July. And that is the end of my report. Any questions with it? Did you get all that, Raylene?
Anybody have any questions, comments? I do. Two things. First of all, you mentioned the juvenile, the complaint that someone had about the way a juvenile was
Yep.
treated. What is the policy about detaining them? Could you explain that?
So, sure, the policy on detaining, when a juvenile is arrested, the policy is to contact parent/guardian when arrested. Now, officers, I'll throw you a situation here. If a juvenile is pulled over, let's say they're going 75 and a 35, there's 4 juveniles in the car, and the officer detects alcohol or marijuana in the car. This is just a situation that could arise. Only one person in the car could be arrested. Maybe the operator is 17 years old and they're impaired and they're arrested for DUI. However, the other 3 juveniles in the car were detained for over an hour. They were interviewed about the marijuana, interviewed about the alcohol in the car. That's something that we would contact and notify parents about because we detain them. Well, right there on scene, we'd say, hey, we have your child stopped. They were stopped in the car for X, Y, and Z. We detain them for 47 minutes. They're being released to John Doe. The operator of the car is being arrested for DUI. They weren't necessarily arrested as passengers in the car, but we as an agency reach out and notify the parents that they were detained for a lengthy period of time. But our policy is anytime during an arrest, immediately notify the parents, and CALEA is very strict on that. Immediately, if a store reports a shoplifting, and we respond on scene, take them into custody, take them back to the police department, even if they're issued a citation in the police car, before they're cut loose, the parents are notified immediately. That's the policy with that.
We had, on one of the ride-alongs I was at, we detained Patrolman Tressler detained a juvenile under 13 years old for shoplifting, and immediately he called. They were with another family, so he
Right.
called the parents. Yeah.
Yeah, so the parents have to give permission for that juvenile to be released to the other family that they're
Yeah,
vacationing
yeah,
with.
yeah.
And there are some times where, nope, that friend is a bad influence, I'm coming to get them, and they may be coming from Michigan. So we have to hold them in custody and, until mom or dad get here, because they don't want to release them to the guardian.
Right.
So we're usually thrown a curveball, but because we have soundproof policies, we just abide by the black and white that's in the book.
Yeah, okay. The other question I had was about, and I apologize if this is throwing something at you, but when you talked about the assembly over here in June, okay, there has been a recent report about a local town singling out First Amendment assemblies, and the ACLU wrote and said, well, what about something that's spontaneous? And I was wondering how we handle something like that.
So this is my first shot as the chief of police. We were given, now, the right to assemble and the right to protest is a protected constitution right. So I was very grateful. The first thing I said is thank you for making me aware of this, because not only it was a anti-Trump protest. Now, you might have somebody at a red light here on a Saturday morning at 1:26 that may not agree with it, and they can certainly get out of the car and protest back. So police are the line that protect rights. So I was very grateful that they didn't have to give me a heads up, but they said, hey, we're coming, we're planning on doing this right here. Do you guys have a problem with that?
Right.
They didn't have to tell us. But because they did, we had enough officers in place to protect them, to guide them where to go. If they want to get their message out, the best way to do it is in this part of the intersection right here. We provided barricades for their safety so they didn't step out into the road and get struck. We provided a heavy police presence in case somebody wanted to protest back against them. We were very grateful for that, and it shows a lot of transparency from us in the community. Again, they didn't have to tell us, but because they did, we provided them safety and support and police presence to protect them. So
And they don't need a permit.
you do not need a permit for
no,
that.
no.
It's a
But
lawful,
I guess the issue becomes if it's a spontaneous protest.
right.
It would be the difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, you can't block free passage, you can't stand in the middle of the roadway, like, those things are what you see on the news. Luckily, we don't have that in Bethany Beach, but if there's an unplanned protest that just show up and they're blocking the road, they're blocking the sidewalks, they're blocking a restaurant access, then we go and enforce that and make arrests. But because we were given an ample heads up and a notice about that, we were able to provide safety and everything for that. But they didn't have to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, the next item on the agenda is report and lessons learned from the ride-alongs. And I know that Pastor Rich and Dan have, whoever wants to start.
When I did the ride-along, the first thing was coming in here and have to put a bulletproof vest on. Made my heart go up a little bit. I climbed in, I think Officer Rogers
Oh, yeah. Oh,
was
yeah.
my officer to go along with. I was amazed by how much technology there is in a police car now. I was in the front thing, thank goodness, because I kidded my parishioners saying, if you see me in the back seat of a police car, it's not that I'm being arrested, I'm doing a ride-along, but I was in the front seat. Some things I learned. I have only been living here for 5 years, and I was surprised by how small this community is. I asked him to take me a tour, and he took me a tour around all the areas that we have to take care of. We did make one arrest. I did not leave the vehicle at all. We did make one arrest. His professionalism, his mannerisms were outstanding. He was a wonderful person to be with. I enjoyed the ride-along. I did 3 hours with him and did a ride-along with him. We were stationed out here along the highway with all his equipment up, and we had a vehicle coming towards us that was going about 55, 60 miles per hour, and he goes, "Oh, here we got one." And then he started getting ready to pull out and found out it was a state police. So we didn't track them down to work out. The only arrest we made was a person that was in the turning lane here, and we were behind them, and they decided to get out of the turning lane, cut down here, make no signal turns, and turned around and came back over here. They said they were providing food from some organization. DoorDash, yeah. And he was very polite with them. I stayed in the cab. He was very polite with them. And that was the only time he had a ticket go out. I would recommend for anybody here, I thought it was very eye-opening for me, especially how much they do and how much they look out and how much technology they have there, especially the squealing noise. When it squeals a lot, you know that you have somebody speeding. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I thank you for the opportunity to do that.
Thank you very much, Pastor Rich.
Madam Chair, I wish I could be as brief as Pastor Rich was. I had three ride-alongs. So and I actually at the end of the third one I was going to send a bill for my time to the chief. But I have to tell you that it was a remarkable experience, just like you, Rich. It was incredibly eye-opening. And I've written to the chief about it, and I told him that I spent most of my adult life working in law enforcement agencies, and I always thought I had a pretty good handle on what happens in a police department. Well, these officers showed me I was dead wrong in a great way. The equipment they use, the patrol cars they have, I believe are mini police stations. I mean, it's incredible, the kind of information flows, the kinds of time that's saved by the officers when they're doing the work. It's just phenomenal. But what impressed me the most was the conduct of the officers, the way they explained what they were doing, the way they approached people, the time limits they put on themselves sometimes for the stops. I must have seen about 20 stops, and Officer Contorno and I spent Sunday night together, so I could see the curfew violators, and we rode along on the beach to see all of that. And I stayed awake the whole time, by the way. At the towards the end of the tour with Greg, we had a call for someone who was trying to avoid arrest. And so we had a hot action that went on, and as we were riding through the backyards and streets and whatever that sand vehicle is, the UTV, we were in pursuit. And as we started, he looked at me and he said, "You're now Officer Rosenblatt." He didn't say that, but he said, "You watch the right side, I'll watch the left side." So I was ready, and the long and the short of it was that there were two teenagers. One was caught, and the description of what happened with parents and notification all occurred right there, and it was pretty remarkable. I guess what I would, a couple things I'd like to say. One is Many, 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 many years ago, when I was new to policing, I had the pleasure of working with a former chief, Joe Casey, in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville had a large metropolitan police department, and he'd been around for a long time. And I said, how do you know a good police department when you see it? I mean, you've been around, you can assess these things. So we took a walk in the community where we were meeting, and he just pointed out a few things. And one of the things that he pointed out was, look at the officers. How do they conduct themselves? How are they attired? How are they dressed? How do they deal with the community and the nature of the business that they're conducting? And I have to tell you, that ran through my mind through all of my pursuits, all of my ride-alongs. And I have to tell you how impressed I am with every officer, and the praise that I give to these officers actually starts at the top. Because all of these officers consistently follow policies and practices that are, to the best of my knowledge, consistent with the top of the line in policing everywhere. But what they emphasized, and I thought this was really remarkable, was a balance between enforcement and education. And if I hear that one more time from Chief Foley, I think I'm going to gag. Because that's the policy, that's the leadership that he has provided, and that's what these officers do. And it's just remarkable to be in a ride-along and see how the training and the policies and the practices and the leadership is reflected back on a good department and a good police chief. So, Chief, my hat's off to you and I've written letters to everybody and thanking them. The recommendations I have, I don't know if you want them now, Madam Chair. And I know this is, I don't want to stimulate any comical response here, but the movies about citizens on patrol and police academy and all that sort of stuff. There is a value to what I experienced, and I heard that from Pastor Rich as well, in really being able to show the community what police officers do. And I know this meeting, I believe, is available for public viewing. And you've heard the long list of things that the chief did, so it's not my desire to put any burdens on anybody. But there are a lot of ways in which we can engage the public in ways that we did. And Rosemary, I look forward to hearing from you about your experience. And maybe there's a way to create a Citizens Academy where here in Bethany Beach, a few nights over a period of a couple of months, we open the doors to people who register for the program, and they will get junior police officer badges, the plastic one, just like I did, Chief. Thank you. Which is on my shelf, by the way. I'm very, very proud of that. But the idea of really seeing how these police officers act, how they perform, the explanations they give when they stop people, the pleasant and courteous manner in which they conduct themselves. I think people need to know more about that, and they need to see it. And we can't put everybody in patrol cars. I don't think you have enough. And I know that the nature of the community that we're in, we've got residents and we've got lots of visitors, and we've got lots of calls for service in the summertime, unless, it's a big mix of things. But if there's a way, and I don't have a solution, but I think maybe we could put it on the agenda to find a way in which we could share these experiences, and not just on videos, but perhaps in a classroom, and ask the officers to come in and speak. Or was it Real Stories of the Highway Patrol many years ago? I mean, maybe we can put a video camera inside the car and just, film folks as they're doing it. I'm only half serious about that. But there are a lot of ways to skin the cat, but I think it's an important one for us. And when I look at, Madam Chairman, your reminder here of our purpose statement, this is number 2, creating greater transparency, information gathering, and sharing, education, and community engagement. I think this fits into our mandate. And so perhaps as we meet in the days ahead, or however I can help in between the next meeting and this one, I think we ought to look at that, and I think we really ought to find a way to do that. But again, just in conclusion, I'm grateful for the experience. The only problem I had when it was over was that when my wife and I were driving home to Alexandria, I kept saying, that guy didn't stop long enough at the stop sign. Look at that bike. He's riding on the sidewalk. He shouldn't be on this, and it's just, I really, had to stop and tell myself, you're not a police officer, and and nobody recognized you as such. But I thank you, Chief, for the officers in the department, and Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to express this. It was a wonderful experience.
I agree. It was, and I think I like your suggestion too about somehow letting people understand what the police department actually does. I think a combination too of our classroom training as well as hands-on has been very helpful. I went out with Officer Tressler, and to your point, one of the things I came away with, if I hadn't known he had only been on his own for 3 months, I would have thought he was a seasoned officer. And I attribute a lot of that to the leadership here, and also to the I experienced, we had a couple of stops. We had one down here at the old Walgreens. There was a J1 student who had been, this was about 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. She had been riding a scooter, which she never should have been doing anyway. She's going through the parking lot at 25 miles an hour, and she collides with a van. They go on two sides of one of those advertising trucks, and she collides with it, and she goes flying into the windshield, but luckily she had a helmet on. But it was Tim Haley's, one of his employees, and Tim, you know, God love him, he had that poor J1 student killed a couple of years ago. So that's all I could think of, and he came to the scene and went to the hospital with her. And I asked him later, he said that she was doing okay. And luckily, she listened to him and wore the helmet, you know. But in that too, and this is another question I had for you, in that situation, you had not only Bethany Beach at the scene, it was in Delaware State Police's jurisdiction, but you had about 3 or 4 other agencies there. And one of the questions I have for you is, how does that work? The dispatch, who dispatches, who has authority to show up, and how do agencies do that?
So Delaware is very unique. Being a small state, we all have unified dispatch that comes through state police, SUSCOM. They work in the EOC center in Georgetown, so if you call 911 from Bethany Beach, it automatically pings Georgetown, and then if they don't know your location, your cell phone pings off a tower, and they dispatch the closest municipality. So to answer that in one part is Delaware State Police, we're all in the same channel. So Bridgeville, Delaware, Troop 5, Delaware State Police, Seaford area, we all hear the same calls. Second part of that, technology in the vehicles was mentioned. We have a computer automated dispatch, it's called a CAD. It shows all the time on our computer screen, and it shows pending calls, officer's location, there's a map. We can also see it on that before it actually gets dispatched. While they're typing the complaint, it comes on our screen and we can see it and respond to it. Bethany Beach Police Department policy is to not respond to something when you're not dispatched for liability reasons. In that situation, we acknowledge that we're available, and then SUSCOM dispatch acknowledges that we can respond because we're close to a lot of things, especially Delaware State Police jurisdiction, where they may be in Selbyville or Millsboro. We are usually on scene first. That was a perfect example of that. It's a very serious accident with head trauma. That's how it came out. Bethany, I'm assuming South Bethany, maybe Ocean View responded on scene before a state trooper, and that's just the way it goes down here in a coastal town. They may have been in Selbyville stuck in traffic. So to have mutual aid policies between all agencies to respond to those calls ensures everybody's safety that's on scene. So it's used for officer safety as well as emergency situations like that.
So you really have to get permission to be there, or they have to acknowledge that it's okay for you to be there.
Yeah,
You just can't
dispatch.
show up.
Cannot show up. It's a violation of a policy. If it's an officer safety issue, you could say, hey, I'm available. I can respond if needed. And if they say, no, you're not needed, if the officer responds on scene, it's a violation of policy. So we're dispatched everywhere we go.
Okay. One of the things that Officer Tressler did, and he told, and I was very impressed with the relationship, the interaction between the officer in charge, who was Josh Fulton, Sergeant Fulton, and Officer Tressler, because Tressler then went around to people at the scene, taking down names and address, of people who were potential witnesses that he could give to the Delaware State Police. But then he came and reported to Sergeant Fulton what he had done and everything. So it was just the interaction with them, back and forth. And like you, Patrolman Tressler had taken me, he took me on a tour first of the building, which, yeah, and he's very proud of the building. He went and said, this is what this is used for, this is what that's used for. And then in his vehicle, he was very proud of the way he set up his office
Yeah, yep,
in
it's
the
a mobile
vehicle.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right, you get the vest before you can go in the car.
Yep.
But he let me use the siren.
Yep.
But the one thing he did too was he said, if anything happens to me, this is the button you
Right,
press.
right.
Which, you know, is,
Yep.
that's the thing, and you never think about that.
Right.
So he had thought about that, and I thought that was, that was very helpful
Yeah.
and everything. And then the second call we had was up on the boardwalk to a 13-year-old who was accused of shoplifting. And she was very distraught because she said she was walking around the store with the stuff and didn't realize she walked out. It was a $5.99 bracelet
Right.
or something, didn't even realize it. But Officer Tressler, then, there were three people then on the scene. There was Sergeant Fulton, there was Patrolman Tressler, and there was a seasonal officer. And the three of them worked together. So Tressler came over and Fulton stayed out of the way, which I was very impressed by. He stayed by the car with the seasonal, and he said, I've talked to her, blah, blah, blah. I've called the guardian, the people she's with, and the mother and everything, and I'd like to recommend the juvenile civil citation program.
Yep, yep.
And so he said to the sergeant, what do you think? And he told him everything, and he said, yes, I agree, that's the way to go. So he was helping the seasonal fill out the paperwork while Tressler was up there talking to the people they were with and everything. They just worked seamlessly together.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, one of the reasons that Officer Tressler seems like he's a seasoned officer is the way the leaders treat them. They don't tell them what to do. They let them do the work and let them report to them and say, this is what I'd like to
Yep.
do. And they, rule on that one way or the other. And I thought the way they worked together was just, it was like orchestrated. It
Yep.
was just very well done.
Yep. I can confidently say it's not orchestrated, but it's well-trained,
I mean,
well-trained officers.
It's
Yeah.
well-trained.
We didn't stage the shoplifting.
It was like a well-trained.
Rosemary's in the car.
But now, could you talk a little bit about that, the juvenile program, and the pros and cons? Has it worked, or?
So, yes, I'm not a large fan of it. It's called the Juvenile Civil Citation Program. So, there's two ways to make an arrest. One is a criminal summons, and that is physically taking them into custody, bringing them back to the police department, fingerprinting them, and turning them over to a parent or guardian. 2018, 2019, in that era, the courts would be, especially juvenile issues, shoplifting is one of the big things we deal with in the summertime. The study we did last year, we turned over to the Chamber of Commerce. White females, in Bethany Beach specifically, white females from the age of 11 to 15, from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. is the most primary suspect of a shoplifting in Bethany Beach. And that was maybe 60, shopliftings that we had in the year of 2023. I think it was the last year research that reported for 2024. So that fits the model that from what we have in Bethany. It's a $5.99 bracelet, but that $5.99 bracelet is Aaron's money as a business owner. So we look at it black and white and said, the store wants prosecution, this is how we do it. So in years past, we would take all those criminal summons and send them to the court. And you can imagine the courts get bombarded with Bethany Beach, Rehoboth Beach, any other coastal town in Sussex County, Dewey Beach Police with alcohol violations. They get bombarded June, July, and then they all have to come back to court in 3 or 4 months. So the Delaware State criminal justice system came up with a juvenile civil citation, which is a documented arrest, but they do everything by phone. They have to call and check in with a parent to a court liaison officer over the phone. They have to write an apology letter to the victim. They have to do some form of community service if it justifies a monetary value. That's the new method we go through. We only do that on one offense, and then if you take our kindness for weakness, if you will, we arrest you and go back to the criminal summons citations. Through statewide chiefs meetings, we've come to find out that Bethany Beach is one of the only municipalities that do JCCs. just because we deal with it so much. It's very easy. As you saw, we could do it right in our police car, and it keeps the officer available and on the road for supervisor issues as well as emergencies. So it works for us. At the end of the day, it's I hate to say it, it's a $5.99 bracelet. The court does the same thing with it, whether or not it's a physical arrest or a juvenile civil citation. So more than likely, if we see the person again, we don't give them the JCC, we go straight to a criminal arrest with a criminal summons. This, like Dan said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and that's, we do it with two methods.
Do you have anything to tell anyone based on your experience?
Not particularly. I will just say, as a business owner, I rely on 14 to 17-year-olds to run my business. So it's also, I have gotten to the point, as she fully knows, I used to take this very personally, and it could be I mean, I've called them for a $1 sticker. But now it's really come to, I don't rely on my 15 to 17-year-old employees to watch shoplifters, confront shoplifters, so it's me. So what gets taken away from me as a business owner, being with the 14-year-old for the $1 sticker versus the rest of the business? So when I'm with her for 35 minutes, what has been taken away from my business that I've picked and choose my battles now. I did not call them for one shoplifter this year. Did I have many? Yes. But you get to the point that I am thankful that most of my shoplifting does happen over 3 months. It does not happen 12 months out of the year. So I've kind of taken a step back and put my pride aside. There was also a situation on the flip side of a $1 sticker. I had somebody cut the security sensor off of a $350 Yeti cooler. But I also said, it's only my brother and I here right now. For us to go find this guy, there's nobody to run the cash register. There's nobody to communicate with the customers paying hundreds, thousands of dollars in there right now, that even that, we said, wash our hands of it. That stinks. We hate that that happened, but we kind of have to move on. So it's hard because you want it to stop, but it's also, you have to, as a human, I also have to decide where to put my time and energy, and sometimes it's just not worth it. I don't know if you guys have seen too, but I've also noticed a drastic difference in the reaction. It was funny to hear you say how distraught she was. I don't see that reaction hardly at all anymore, that they don't care and they know nothing's gonna happen to them. And they say, call my mom, I don't care. And it's very different than it used to be when everybody was in tears. I will pay you triple, I am so sorry. They tend to not worry as much now, in that they are probably educated in what happens to them, which can not be very much. So it's hard. It's hard as a business owner, and it's hard in that split. I mean, when you see it happen, you have to make a decision, and it's hard to turn and look the other way. But sometimes I've learned that you just have to. So I would be curious to see or hear your reaction to that, if that is wise on my end or not.
So that's an example of risk reward on your part as a business owner. We have some stores that don't pick up shoplifting till after the season when they do inventory, and then it's a late reported thing where we can't go off it, we just document it. And then we have stores where we look at our watch and say it's 6:35, we haven't got a call yet today. And that, you know, we could put an officer in front of the doorway. That's not going to deter anything that happens inside on surveillance cameras. Back to Erin's statement, society has kind of lost its way. There's zero accountability. I almost was going to bring body-worn camera footage of Labor Day weekend. I know the folks that did ride-alongs, you may have been up on the beach at 11:05 and saw chaos ensue, organized chaos on the police department's side. Officers on Labor Day weekend of Sunday night went up on the beach, and it was chaos. I wanted to bring the video in and just play 15 seconds of it, and the language is absurd. So like Erin's statement, nobody's scared anymore. The criminal justice system, nobody's intimidated by it. there's no accountability at home. So the parents, like Aaron said, I don't care. Call the police. I don't care. We see that. We see that more than not. So it's sickening as a chief of police. It's sickening as a parent. I was in trouble when I was 17 years old. I had the police called on me, and I was a nervous wreck. And I can tell you the criminal justice system would not touch anything that Mr. and Mrs. Foley took care of their own son. And I will never do that again. So I think those days are somewhat gone. We see it as a police department. Aaron sees it as a business owner. Society just happened to lose its way. But back to the shoplifting, it is a risk reward for most business owners, but we see it called in 3 months late. We see it called in daily at a certain time. And then we see people just say, we can't worry about it, but I just want to let you know that keep an eye on this person. We've seen all aspects of it. It's hard to control that because we try to curb it as much as we can and deter from it, but you can't really police the stores and put an officer in every single store to control that. So it is tough.
He was wandering around the boardwalk there, and, you know, the people in the windows, and he'd be looking at them, you know, and they'd see him. Yeah. Anybody else?
I just have one comment. This goes back to Dan's ride-along. Don't think that you know this, but there was a person that sent me a text message. There was a picture of headlights and red and blue lights flashing in their rearview mirror that they were pulled over by Officer Ryan when Mr. Rosenblatt was in the passenger seat. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, you're getting a ticket. She's a ride-along with a PAC member, you're getting a ticket. And this person was, it was a mechanic driving a customer's car. So the person says, my car's broken, it's pulling to the left, and it's making this noise. So he takes it out and sees if it's doing X, Y, and Z, and happened to commit I believe, a U-turn violation in the X, Y, and Z moment. And he sent me the picture. Molly got his documentation. I think went back to the car. I was like, you're done. And it just goes to show the humanistic approach of the police department. And the big word, our favorite word, is discretion. You don't want to lock up every single person that's out there violating the law. That's not what we're about. We never will be. But one of those things about education, Molly just saying, there's a turn signal. You violated it. I'm with somebody in a car. They don't have to know the conversation that's going on right now, but I'm going to give you a warning on that. Don't do it again. That goes the same way as a $103.50 ticket for violating a U-turn. So officers show discretion. We're humans. We deal with the same issues that everybody else, and it portrays on ride-alongs. I think Molly came back and was like, hey, I let this person go and gave him a warning. Is that okay? He's like, that's, you're right, you know, whatever you want to do, you're using your discretion. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if you knew that in the passenger seat, but.
I would have thrown the book at him. No, seriously, she was all of the officers that I rode with were terrific, and whether it was Ben Tressler or Greg Contorno or Molly Ryan, I think with Molly, I think we actually made 7 stops.
Yeah.
And that process is amazing. And Chief, you sort of alluded to it. You know, in a juvenile situation where there has been an experience, and then another stop when they're trying to, you know, shoplift again. That's the kind of information that comes up on those computers. I mean, it's just there. They don't have to wait, you know, for 3 days for, you know, an answer to a letter. But a question for Aaron, and this is, I guess, as a business owner. I mean, if you were to, it's expensive to hire security. That cuts into your profits. If you put cameras or notice that there are cameras in your shop in the windows, that sort of deters people from coming in, I suppose. Are there things that that you could do or other shopkeepers could do to put people on notice that they're being watched, or that there are you know, you can't get away with this, we're watching you?
Yeah, and I mean, we do. I mean, we have 24 cameras in our store. Okay. We have security sensors on 95% of the items in my store. Like I said, with the Yeti cooler, they just need something to detach it. So people are coming in with magnets. They're coming in with scissors. They're coming in with the tools to detach the items. So that goes into the, why don't you have more employees? The cost now of employees versus what you could potentially lose are nowhere close to even. So I am better off with that risk reward. Is I do what I can. I have the cameras. I have signs all over the store. You are being recorded. Smile, you're on camera. I have them everywhere. The little kids love it. They smile and dance and do this, and that's great. So that is a positive. They know they're being watched. I have the teenagers that see it and think, oh crap. But then I also have the teenagers and see it that think, okay, this is a challenge. Yeah. So I do what I can. I have my presence known. Luckily in Bethany, I get a lot of turnover customers. So now most of them know that I am the owner. I am in there 75% of the time that I'm open. But again, I think even the ones that know me, the ones that want to steal, or that's their plan, I'm their challenge. So, okay, there's a security sensor, she's in here, and the camera's on me. Let me see if I can do it. Right. So I do what I can, but I think there's only a certain point that I can do. But I do, aside from the security guard at the front door, I think I've tried just about everything, and I do think it has deterred a lot. I do not want to say that every single person that comes in that plans on stealing sees this and they do it anyway. I think it has deterred a lot, and I do remind myself of that, that if this is what has been stolen with all these things, imagine how much would have been stolen without it. So it's just a mindset shift of I'm doing the best I can, and I think it could be a lot worse if I wasn't taking those measures.
Very good.
Just to comment on that, she mentioned security, like security for the stores. I mentioned, and this was not a complaint, this was just a situation that was relayed to me by a PAC member of mistrust by Bethany Beach Police Department. That was directly caused by the overzealousness of a security officer working for a private store. The security officer illegally detained a juvenile without probable cause, and the police department was called on scene for the commotion, and we were guilty by association. Right. So security officers aren't necessarily the best thing to have for that, but I just wanted to make a comment to that. This was not a complaint that came to the police department about us illegally detaining someone. It was a comment made to a PAC member which came to me, which I took very seriously, and was investigated within an hour through the rank and file of a person on their day off called me back. But that was directly caused by a security guard. So they do have their pros and cons.
Chief Foley, I've gone to 5 or 6 concerts down here in downtown. Wonderful. I know we had talked about it when we did our training. Is there any way that I could have a walk along or find out what you do prior to a concert to prepare for that concert?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of our, the letter that I read earlier, actually, they walked in on us at the town park over here doing our event security sweep. We do it for every 5K. We do it for every concert that's up here in the boardwalk. We do it for every event that's gonna hold people anywhere and everywhere in town. It's part of our policy for event security. For an event at 7:30 on the boardwalk, time's gonna shift now in the off season, but we do that well in advance where we scan for threats, bombs, if you will, anything that may endanger anybody on scene. That's done logistically well ahead of the show, but if you ever want to do that, we'll arrange something via email where we have a concert venue going on. I can have you meet officers up there and walk through and show what they do. It is a little bit better in the summertime just because we have Delaware State Police on scene. They're here throughout October for our fall concert series. But we have more people on the boardwalk because there's more people in attendance. In the fall, we have seasonals that assist us, and it's not as plentiful. We represent the crowd that's up there, so it's better to watch in the summertime because of obvious amounts of people out there, but we do the same exact thing in the winter. So if it's a Saturday morning, we have a 5K event in town, you could be part of that, or any boardwalk event that's advertised up here, we do it as well as us.
Thank you.
I have a question for Aaron. Do you do any specialized training of your employees about what to do or not to do if they see somebody shoplifting, or, I mean, what do they do?
Specialized training, no. I also feel like in the trend of just what's happening. There's so much, even for me, there's so much gray area, and it is a lot to ask of a 14-year-old employee. So I touch on it in their first shift of, I say, there are shoplifters, it does happen. Do not be naive to it, be aware. That's pretty much where I leave it. I let them know if they see something, do not go up to them, do not say anything, come tell me. If they leave the store, it's okay. That's why we have the cameras. If it's somebody I need to look for, I will go back and watch the camera. It's just too much of a liability with my employees. And some, although they're younger, they're a little bit more experienced just in the store. I mean, she's a college student, but she has worked for me for 9 years. So she's a little bit more in tune with what to watch for, how to handle those situations. But even her, I still do not let them approach anybody. So if there's the rare chance that my brother or I are not in the store, it'll be something I say, if we're not there, look at the clock, see what time it is, so that the next day we can go back, look at the cameras, and we can take it from there.
So you have trained them?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have anything they want to say, ask? Okay. Thank you very much, Chief Foley. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, everyone. And I guess that's it.
Meeting December 2nd.
Public comment? None? Okay. All right, the next meeting is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. And thank you, everyone, for your wonderful contributions. And this has been a very good meeting.
Indeed.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So it's moved.
Second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Done.